Hi, I'm Dawn.
I'm Ashley.
And this is Mel.
Welcome to the Work It, You Are Worth It podcast.
We are here to discuss awareness, growth, and healthy relationships.
Are you ready?
Good morning, Ash. Good morning, Mel. How are you guys today?
I'm great. How are you, Don? How are you, Mel?
I'm good. It's a great morning here. It's nice and sunny and the leaves are changing. It's beautiful. I love fall. I think
I love,
it's my favorite season.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love
fall
fall too.
too.
Sweater weather. I love sweater weather. I just
Me
do.
too.
I do.
Um,
Everybody,
Fall?
it's weird to me that Mel, fall is your favorite season. Dawn, did I hear you say you too for that also?
No, spring is probably my
Okay.
favorite.
I was gonna
Spring
say
is my
it's
favorite.
I've ne when I tell people that fall is my favorite season, they always give me this kind of look, like, really? Do
Hmm.
you tend to get that reaction, Mel?
Uh, no.
I love
No, not at
fall.
all. I love
Okay.
fall. But fall here would be different. Like fall in New York. Uh
Yes.
Ashley originally from New York.
Western New York.
Yeah, so we would have the same type of season, right? Because I'm in
Yes.
Ontario, just like not far from New York. So, um,
The leaves are so
it's
pretty, and
pretty.
the
Oh, and
breeze that smells just of, I can't describe it. The breeze smells of fall, rain and leaves
Hmm.
mixed together. And it just, I love fall. I love it.
the Christmas, it's a Christmas in the air,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you can sleep with your window open, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just love it.
Me
It's
too.
my
I love fall.
season. It's my season.
I've been in Florida 22 years, and right, we don't get fall like I did when I was in northern Indiana, right? Like you were, I know when you guys were talking about the colors and the smells and all that feel and the Christmas, right? Love fall. Um, Here, I don't have I think my mind has shifted around it. I love spring because right now it's starting to warm up and right, the flowers and everything's blooming and fresh and the birds, everything's coming back and I love this, and for me, the sounds outside that I get in spring, I love that. That's why I'm drawn to spring. Um, but I do love fall here in Florida because right this morning, like I'm still in my lounge clothes, so but I have like long pants on, lounge clothes, and a thicker t-shirt on, and I go outside and I'm like, oh, it's a nice brisk morning. I mean, granted, it's probably 60, but but later today it'll be well. This is how it was yesterday, and I was in the pool at 3 in the afternoon, but it wasn't hot, right? The humidity is going away, and uh, so I love this time of year here too. So,
Yeah, you got 60 when you wake up in the morning and 80 in the middle of the day.
yep,
We're like I'm struggling. It's not fall enough for me. I'm not
yeah,
struggling, but North Carolina does not have very much fall. We typically go straight from summer to
mm,
winter. You'll get a few days of fall here and there. So like yesterday, it was the low, I think, was 49 and the high
okay,
was 65. Oh,
okay,
perfect
yeah,
sweater weather. I love it. Crispness, but I only get right. You'll get 2 days a week for four
yeah,
weeks of that, and that's North Carolina's fall. Whereas
yeah,
Miss Mel up there luckily gets every day for like a month and a half to 2 months. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's been really great. Our high today is it's going to be about 23, which is I think about 65 for you guys
Yep.
if
okay,
I get it
Sounds
about
about right.
right. Yeah, so yeah, like it's just beautiful. But it gets dark. Like I mean, it's getting dark by 6:30,
yeah,
7 o'clock.
But
same
see,
here.
I
So
love night.
me too. I
I
don't mind
like
it.
I do not mind what is ever daylight savings or whatever the
Mm,
opposite is where it gets dark at 4 or 5 in the
oh,
afternoon. I do not mind that at all.
Hmm. Well, we've already even started to winterize the backyard, like we're putting stuff away, which
oh
is
yeah,
kind of sad. Like
yeah,
we put away the table and the chairs and stuff like that, so that's sad.
yeah,
Means like we're transitioning. It's time. But
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and we cut down all the flowers, like all our gardens all cut down now.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
we've harvested, I guess you call it
yeah,
harvesting. We
yeah.
harvested and yeah.
You know what I miss? You guys keep talking about sweater weather. And sweater weather for me, I'm never like the sweater part of it. I've never been. I mean, I do love the little sweater weather, the sweater weather. I love the skit, right? Of course.
Hmm.
Man, a good fucking hoodie. A big
Yes.
ass
I love my
hoodie.
hoodies.
Oh, guys, I got the cutest hoodie on right now. Like, watch.
That is my sweater weather is a hoodie.
It's got little ears.
Oh,
Oh,
that's so
it's cute.
And I don't know if you can
God,
see this, but it's got
no.
little black
Oh, I see
cats
it.
on pumpkins.
Oh,
Oh,
I love that.
I love a good
Oh, I love
hoodie.
a good hoodie.
Yeah. So,
That is
anyways,
exactly what I talk about when I say sweater weather is a good hoodie.
It's a
good
good
hoodie.
hoodie, a really good
Good hoodie.
hoodie. And this one I got, and it's so soft on the inside.
Oh,
I'm sure a lot of people have like I find that when I talk about this, everyone goes, "Yeah, I have the same thing too." The way that clothing feels on your skin, like I
the
like,
tactile
yeah,
feeling.
the tactile feeling. I love the softness of a really good hoodie.
I have texture things, and if
Yeah.
things don't feel
Same.
right, then I will not wear them. And the better they feel, the more I will wear them.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I like something, I'll wear it out. Yeah.
That's why I was saying like sweaters for me are usually because I had eczema as a kid really, really bad up and through high school. So sweaters, one, it made me hot. And usually sweaters are a little bit more fitting. So
And
they,
like woolly.
yeah. And so I could never wear them. I'm allergic to wool. So putting that on my skin is a hard no. But sweat like hoodies, like they were looser. They didn't have that itchy,
And they're
I don't know.
soft. I
Oh,
love,
yeah.
yeah, I don't, when you look at fashion and you consider an actual sweater, I don't wear much
Yeah,
sweaters.
me either.
Hoodies are my favorite. I went through a phase where I was wearing like cardigan sweater things for a
Oh,
little
yeah, yeah,
while,
yeah.
but hoodies are my favorite.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
I love myself a good cardigan too. I really do.
So, we are going to be talking about compliance today. We have been talking about survival characteristics. Um, we've done denial, we've done low self-esteem, and those are podcasts that are out now by the time this podcast comes out. And definitely check those out. We talked in one of the earlier podcasts before we came out is right. We are doing these characteristics in an order because it logically makes sense of how they're placed in the scan this what's the word I'm looking for, but anyway, the order's there for a reason. Um, and I actually, I mean, we've talked about this vaguely, but what? So I'm going a little rogue here. What is the order? Like, what when you think about the order of these?
Yeah. Well,
Let's.
so the reason we're that in my mind, the reason we're doing in this order is because as I grow in my awareness and as I become more aware of who I am and how I want to be versus how I am, then I have to realize these characteristics, these things that I am doing. And the order that we chose to display them, to talk about them, is the order that we believe that they come to fruition, right? So
Yep.
we did denial first. If we do, if I am not aware of my denial, then I cannot be aware of my low self esteem.
Right.
So, and if I'm not aware of my denial and my low self esteem, then I will never be aware of what we're going to talk about today, which is compliance. So it has to come in. It doesn't have to. Some people may be aware of their compliance before they're aware of their denial, but if they're aware of their compliance, then they're not in denial. Right. So
Yeah.
it's like choosing the reason we chose this order is because this is kind of how our awareness comes to
Right.
fruition. If I come out of denial first, then I accept the compliance, the low self esteem, and then the compliance, and then go on from there. That's just kind of the order of how it works out
Yep.
in life.
Agreed. And that's I think the thing. I think it's easy for me in the beginning. It was easier to see this denial And then it was easy. The next one that was easy to see was low self-esteem. And then it was easy, right? Because like you said, it was just like once I became aware of one, it was kind of like I was opening myself up. And so the order I think is very, very important. It's not make or break if you jump around. I mean, I remember, right, looking at them, and there's lists out there that'll give like specific things that refer to a compliance and all of that. And and just to look at that list and be able to like, oh, I see I can do that. I see I can do that. I see I can do that. But it's the understanding behind it that I think allows my awareness to grow to be able to evolve in the next one.
It's
Yes.
it's funny when I hear the word compliance, that I never ever thought that it would go towards relationships. Like when I hear compliant, I don't know why my brain goes business, like
Hmm.
compliancy
Because
in a
that's how
Me
it's
too.
business,
used
compli
mostly.
Me
like
too.
yeah, how it's used, right? So I didn't quite understand like when I read compliancy when I first was introduced to it in my recovery, it made sense. But when I first heard it, like just as someone that maybe has never heard compliance in the terms of it being um
A characteristic.
a characteristic in your patterns of who you are, um it really I was really surprised that that it was a thing,
Like
you
it's
know?
actually like something I'm using to survive.
Yeah, that
Right.
I'm actually using compliancy to survive.
Like, yeah.
And it is. And then, if you think about compliance in a business practice, like what we're talking about, versus compliance in like awareness and self-help and recovery and this journey that we're on,
Hmm.
the the patterns are kind of similar,
Yeah, I know.
right? Like the
Yeah.
characteristics are actually kind of similar, except that in the business practice, it's almost good to be compliant,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah, like you would want a business to be compliant if you were going to that business, you'd want it to be compliant as the customer
Right.
of
Like
that
one of the
business.
things,
But in your relationship, you really don't want to be too compliant, you know?
right, right. Like even if you think about like OSHA standards and
Hmm.
OSHA expecting businesses to be compliant to
Yeah.
their standards,
Yeah.
like one of the biggest things is putting aside your own interests in order to make other things pleased and happy, right?
Yeah.
Or the biggest thing right now is for people to become compliant with their government. Like that's a big
Yeah.
thing
Right.
right
Yeah.
now.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That's and that's like we as a unhealthy person in a relationship, as an unaware person in a relationship, think of what it means to put aside my own interests and my own needs and my own wants and my own thoughts and feelings in order to please somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that actually gets us into the definition of compliance. And so what compliance refers to is behaviors that prioritize other people's needs over my own in order to avoid conflict, rejection, and anger.
I think sometimes compliance can be a positive thing in a
Hmm.
relationship, right? If I'm looking at the relationship and I'm viewing a relationship as three separate parts, my part, your part, and our part, and I am compliant to the our part of the relationship, I don't necessarily know that that would always be a negative thing. But if I am compliant to the your part of our relationship all of the time, that is definitely a problem.
Yeah. So, um, I'm going to ask you this. What ways has compliance been kind of a shown up in your life? Like, what does that look like? Because this is can be a confusing one because it is kind of that we know what low self-esteem is, we know what denial is, we know what control is, we know what avoidance is, but compliance is this middle one that's like, what does this really mean? Like, what does it look like?
I stay in relationships way too long. I will stay in a shit situation way too long and try to change myself to make it work. That I am guilty of that.
Me too. I mean, that's a
Hmm.
huge one, right? Staying involved with a job or a person, a friend, a lover, a spouse,
Yep.
a family member, interacting with them in ways that I know are unhealthy and I am not okay with, and continuing to do it in an attempt to try to change the other person. Um, Another thing that I do a lot is I pay overly close attention to how I think other people are feeling,
Yeah.
and then I try to change my behaviors to make them feel better.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I
Um,
think about, go ahead. Go ahead,
oh,
Mel.
I've also um put my morals and values aside to be in a situation. And I think that has to be one of the hardest things that I've done, you know?
Can you elaborate why, what, because you said what was hard about that? I guess let me,
I think staying in a relationship with someone that just to be in the relationship with them, like because I didn't want to be alone, that I would uh, like he was a drug addict, so he was a thief. And I would just kind of put us like I'm not a person that believe at the time would believed in like it wasn't to steal something for me. It was a big thing for me. It was again when it really went against my values. And he used to steal and stuff, well, to survive. Like we were street kids, right? Like we were living on the streets. But I let it happen. Like and I even went along with it. Like I would be there when he was stealing from a store or something. I was there. I allowed like, and it was going against all my values and everything that, I mean, I think as we talk about it more, like more instances like that will
yeah.
arise, especially being in an alcoholic home. There was a lot of things that went against my moral judgments. Um, and I became compliant. Like I was actually, it was really funny. I was with my husband at a restaurant, and right beside this restaurant was this hotel when I was 16 years old. I was at this hotel with my mom, and I remember doing cocaine with her just to be feel close to her.
Just to have a relationship with it.
With my mom.
You know, Mel,
Yeah.
I gotta share as you say that. I did it, right? I that exact same thing. I was my ex. I wanted to fix the relationship. I wanted a connection with him. I What we were lacking was emotional intimacy, right? An emotional connection, a connection. And he was doing ecstasy. And he was like, "Oh, come on, you should try." And I was like, no, I'm 100% against drugs. I mean, I was like 35 years old and had never done any drugs except to try marijuana at 14. I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs. I wasn't, and at 35 years old, I decided I was going to start experimenting with him so that I could have a connection with him.
Mhm.
Like,
Hmm.
eh, like talk about a conscious decision to turn my moral compass off in the moment that I have replayed consistently for the last 7 years, right? Like, you're
Hmm.
not alone. And I think that everybody in that situation to feel that connection with someone who is doing that, and that person is consistently offering, and oh, look how fun it is, look how happy I am, look how good it is, and here is this opportunity, right? And I wasn't 16 years old, I was 35.
Hmm.
Right? Like, yeah, I mean, why, what reason is there not to, except
I,
that we're in compliance?
Hmm.
I say it's interesting that this, right, the story, because for me, it was, I've only ever smoked pot. I've never done any other drug, anything like that. But I remember at 19 years old, I was dating this guy and he smoked a lot. And I was like, well, like, I'll try it. right? I didn't like it. And I drank with it. So, it was not a good situation. Um, but I did it not wanting to do it, but I did it because, well, everybody else was doing it. So I want to fit in. Like, I don't want to be the odd, and I mean, when I say I don't want to be the odd man out, right? It was the fact of saying I didn't want to say, "Oh no," because I didn't want to make the other person feel that I was better than them or I was too good for it or shame it or right. I was worried about what other people's thoughts and feelings around me saying no would have been, or would they like me? Would they still like me? Would he still like me? Um,
It's so interesting to me to see these three totally different perspectives of the exact same thing,
yeah,
right? Like, I think about what Mel was saying, and you think about this 16-year-old child with her mother trying to form this connection, this mentorship, reestablish this abandoned relationship. I can imagine, I can put myself in that. And then you think about me at 35 years old trying desperately to get this emotional intimacy with this 20-year relationship, right? But not at that point, but whatever. And Dawn with these friends and trying to be approved and feel good enough and accepted and like this totally different situation, right? Very, very,
yeah,
very different situations and the exact same compliant behavior where I'm going to abandon my morals, my beliefs, my thoughts, and what I know in my heart is true. I'm going to abandon myself to these other people in order to gain this acceptance of some sort.
yeah,
One thing that compliance where it showed up a lot, mostly was with men. Um, how I would just give the milk out, like in my sexual life, the things that I would do and how I use sex to try, and I was very compliant in sex and I got used a lot that
It was
way
opposite.
because I would give it out. I would, if I would use like, yeah, that's
That's an interesting perspective for me. I'm considering, I'm examining myself as you say this, Mel. I always imagined myself as being using sex to my advantage, right? I did. I definitely manipulated people with sex.
but I use sex to try to keep people.
I definitely, well, I
hmm
was doing that too, right?
Hmm.
Of course, I like at 17 years old, if I have sex with you all the time and I never say no, why would you look at anybody else? I'm going to use it to keep you and to keep you attracted and to keep your attention, right? And at the
Yeah.
same time, I didn't look at that before. I never looked at that from a perspective of compliance until you said it in that manner. I always looked at that as a perspective of, right, I'm powerful over them. I'm taking
yeah.
away their power. I'm manipulating them. I never looked at it from the perspective of I was being compliant in order to gain love.
Hmm.
I mean, I was, as you say that, I do see that, right? I desperately wanted to be loved. I desperately wanted to be accepted. And so I would have done anything in order to get these men to do this. And I just never viewed that portion of it as compliant until now.
Well, like I would say to myself going out, okay, Mel, you're not going to have a one night stand tonight. You're not going to pick up a guy at a bar, bring him home. You're going to do this the right way. You're going to try to not sleep with the guy right away, and
Yep.
you want him to like you for you. But then I get with the guy and I realize, well, maybe there's not much to like about me, and I'm losing interest in him. So I would have sex with him.
So I think about my relationship with my second husband, and right, I met him at work and right, I was flirty. I was flirty, right? I was 20, 27 years old, right? My body was, I'd had a kid, so it was developed finally, and it wasn't just this skinny, scrawny thing. And yeah, right, I'm a beautiful woman, attractive, whatever. So I used that, with flirt and all of that. And I remember he asked me out. And of course I said yes, right? Of course, because, well, this person asked me out. I've been flirting, right? Whatever. Yeah, I'll go out.
How do you say no at that point? I've been flirting with you for so long and acting like I want you for so long. How do I say no now?
Right. And then it was interesting because once it got like closer, like it was a few days out or next day off, I didn't want to go. I did not want to go on this date. And so I set it up for a double date. Did not tell him I made it a double date and said, "Oh, these friends, they're going to go with us." And he was pissed. He was pissed. But I didn't like once I'm like that whole cat and mouse, like, right, I'm gonna chase, 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 chase. Now I got you, now I'm not interested type thing. Like, I don't know, the fun part of it was gone. But um
You did say this is the story about your second husband, right?
I did, and that's why, yep. So that's why I'm like, this is where my compliance, right? Um I went out with him and I could not stand him after the date was over. Couldn't, I just didn't like him. I didn't. I remember this and but we decided we were going to go back to my house to watch a movie. And of course, right? Hey, why not? I might as well have sex with him because, hey, get something. Do you know he never moved out?
Wow. Talk about compliance.
Yeah. Consciously, no, I do not like this person. He annoyed me. He was all the same feelings I have about him today. And, but this was someone that showed interest. He liked me. He was attracted to me. He thought I was fun and exciting and right. And there's something for me that messes with my head. Not now, but then before, like, right, it took a lot of work to get to that point, but back then it was that somebody's going to love me, right? This is going to be better. This is going to be, but how does something go from, ooh, I don't even like you and I don't even want to go on this, like, I didn't even like this date and I to marrying them? Like,
Denial, low
right?
self-esteem, compliance.
I,
Like literally,
avoidance.
if you walk down the characteristics as we're going to get talking about them and you follow that order that we were just talking about, that's what
Mhm.
I hear in that order, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm in denial. I have low self esteem. I'm
Yep.
compliant. I'm
Yep.
avoidant. I'm control, right? I just
Yep.
walk right down that line. And that's how something like a first date with a guy I work with that I never meant to go on a date with, that I was flirty with, turns into we've been married for 10 years and can't stand each other.
Yes.
because you made decisions without like thinking about the consequences. And
Right.
Right.
that's another thing about compliance. Like we just are impulsive. We just make the decision. We don't think about
We don't even make the decision. We just
we
give
just do it.
into the
We
decision of the
decision.
other person
Yeah, we just
You
in
do
know,
it.
order to avoid rejection, anger, and
yep.
whatever that other word was.
Yeah.
And I love what you just said. Like, it's Ashley, it's not even a choice. Like, this wasn't a conscious thing. This wasn't, I'm just gonna ignore what I thought and I'm gonna
You're
do
in
this other
denial.
thing, right? It really was this from a place of, well, maybe it was me. Maybe I was having an off day. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Maybe it wasn't.
It's from a
that,
place of total lack of awareness,
yeah,
self awareness, right?
yeah,
Like you're aware that he's annoying. You're
yep,
aware that he was frustrating. You were aware that he wasn't what you were looking for, but you
yep,
weren't aware that you were annoyed. You weren't aware that
right.
you weren't like, I don't like him. And then at the same time, there's this huge part of us that's like, I don't want to be rejected.
Yes.
I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to be pushed away. So look at this person accepting, loving, and taking me in. Hell, I'm being fucking mean to him sometimes, and he's still
Yep.
accepting and taking me in. Why would I not have that? Why would I take the risk of somebody else rejecting and abandoning me when this person is clearly accepting me no matter what?
Yeah.
I think too, another thing that I would do is I would really try to shrink myself or put myself or change my shape or change who I was to fit into the other person's box.
Yeah, the chameleon.
Oh, like the lies I would
Hmm.
tell. Like I'd
Look,
become
can we
some
call them lies?
I
Were
don't
they
know. Oh, some of
lies?
them were lies.
Were they intentional?
Yeah.
Like, did you know that you were saying the
Oh, fuck
opposite?
yeah. I was trying to make myself into something I wasn't to keep this person. Like, yeah, like I would flub up on how much actual education I did have. Um, Fake I was going to actual work when I wasn't. You know, like hiding things about myself because I didn't feel good enough.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Um, or like one of the big things I did because I didn't get my education till I was a little bit later on in life because that's really shit like tumultuous childhood. I could never stay in school. Like I just could never make it to the end of the year and pass. So I did got most of my stuff when I became an adult. Like I went back to school, got all that. But I would lie to people. I would tell people I had a high school diploma and I was in university and I wasn't.
See, and I never intentionally like I didn't make up like I didn't make it up, but I would definitely exaggerate
Yeah,
and
exaggerate.
underwhelm. I would under tell and I would over tell in
Yeah.
order to fit in to wherever, right? Like if this was an exaggerated person in an intense situation, an excited person, I would exaggerate whatever was going on. If this was a quiet, calm, not underwhelmed person, I would minimize everything going on.
Mm.
I would definitely chameleon and change and I didn't like I didn't pretend to like something I didn't like. Like if I didn't like it, I didn't like it. But I was open to liking just about anything. There wasn't much I didn't like because if I didn't like it and you did, then I wouldn't be good enough.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
it wasn't a lie to say I didn't that I liked it. I just didn't care whether I liked it or not. You know what like does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. There was, you didn't have any, your opinions weren't strong enough to
I
be
don't
like,
I don't
this
even
is
think
my
I knew them.
right. Because, and I think it was just like, well, I don't even know what my opinions are and my thoughts and what I like and what I don't like. So I'll just go, whatever. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'll do it too.
Right
Instead of
as a
knowing
kid,
yourself,
we had to do what our parents wanted.
right?
As a teen, I had to do what my friends wanted.
Yep.
As a young adult, I had to do what my husband wanted and then what my children wanted.
Right.
As an older adult, it was what my children wanted. It was and needed, right? Never had I, until recently, these last several years, never had I even really thought about what does Ashley want.
Hmm.
So it was always what other people wanted. And I was just okay with what other people wanted because I didn't even know what I wanted because I didn't want anything because I didn't look at what I wanted. I never even gave myself the chance to want
Right.
anything.
Right. And I think about like this, where this has played a part in my life, whether it's political, it's religious, right? Higher power, it's food, it's activities. Um, right? I mean, I like just not being knowing me and knowing what I agree with, what I don't agree with, being able to make a choice confidently in a restaurant or the type of food I want to eat or hell, what's on the fucking menu. Um, for me, oh, going to a restaurant with a menu that's huge is just like, oh fuck. I need a one pager, half pager or something like that. Anyways, um, but I think there's where finding, right, it took me a lot of like work. Like, what do I believe from a political standpoint? Right? What do I believe from a religious higher power standpoint? Um, and really understanding why I believe that. But before it really comes down to it's not even that it's like, it's funny because it's not a conscious, I want this other person to like me.
Right. It's not. It's not.
It's a, I don't want to go against the grain. I want to just I want to go with the flow and go with, it's just easier to be like, oh yeah, I like that too, because
For
I
me,
didn't know.
it got to a point where not going with the flow wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Like the only option I had in my brain was compliance. Go with the flow of what everybody else wants, go with what everybody else says. These people know better. And this was not an aware thought at the time, but I am hindsight aware of it. These people know better and do better and are better. So go with what these people say. And that is the flow. And that is all, that is your only option.
Also, in our relationships with people too, um, I always found like in my relationships, there was never any balance. Like we weren't showing up as equals, right? So, um, at one point, I was usually the one on the bottom rung, and there was always someone above me. They were running the show. Like they had complete control. So I felt like I didn't have a choice but to be compliant. Like I had given away all my I had given away myself. I almost gave the word away. I had given away myself, like my sense of self to someone else and said, "Well, here you go, run my life."
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I would say I was compliant with, my most regrettable compliance is allowing my ex to raise the kids the way he wanted
Mm,
to
yeah.
because I wanted to be with him in a positive. I was so worried about making sure that the kids saw a positive, unified front that I didn't take in the fact that, right, like in his mind, girls should have long hair and they should dress like a quote unquote girl, dresses and jeans that fit, and their hair should be their natural color. And in my mind, your hair is a part of your body. It's made for self expression. Express yourself the way you want to express yourself, right? But my oldest daughter was never allowed to cut or dye
Right.
her hair. She wasn't allowed to because he did not think it was appropriate for a girl to cut her hair past her ears and dye it dark. He thought it was appropriate for a 10-year-old girl to have shoulder length or longer hair that hung pretty and dressed girly and right. So we didn't allow her to have that sense of self expression. And I was compliant in that. I truly believe that it is important for a child to be able to express themselves physically in their body with their appearance. And I never once fought him. I gave in
Yeah.
to his beliefs and I made them mine to be okay with not allowing my child to express herself in order to please him.
One of
He,
the Oh, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
you're good. Go ahead. You're good.
Rob and I, early on in our marriage, like it was so volatile at times. And he had some big belief systems and especially when with a few things that when it came around Caden. One of the things he did, and do you guys remember the show, The 70s Show?
Yep.
Yes,
Do you remember Red? And
of
he would
course.
Yep.
call him dumbass.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Okay, so Kate, so he saw this. We used to always call Rob Red because he's had that kind of personality at the time, and he started calling Caden dumbass, and it just became Caden's name. Well, we find out like hindsight's 2020, that was probably not the greatest thing to be calling your like teenage son, you know, 13-year-old kid. But I was compliant in that. I didn't think it was right. I didn't like it every single time Rob would say it. I could see Kay's pain sometimes.
You cringe on the inside
Hmm.
a little bit, but say
It would,
nothing.
but I would say nothing.
Yep.
Only
I
to
did it
find
too.
out like 15, 20 years later that that deeply emotionally scarred Kay. It really, really hurt him.
I love. I'm sorry, like, right, I know that, like, but it happened. But Dylan, Mark and Dylan, same thing.
Des and Jeb and Nick are the same way.
Yep. Mark would
It's
do all these things, say all these things, and I would sit there and I would get upset with Mark with it. Like, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. Right? I'd say that, but then I would just
leave it.
let it go away.
You know, when Destiny was 4, she asked Nick if she could call him dad.
Hmm.
When she was 4, we had been together for about a year and a half at the time, and she asked if she could. Their father, Destiny's father and Jeb's father, was not around at all. He had not seen them ever since we split up. And Nick's response was, no, you have a dad, you can call me Nick. And then once Cameron was born, everything changed. He wanted Cam to call him dad, but because the other two kids called him Nick, Cam called him Nick.
That kind of blew up in his face.
Well, he told the other two kids they had to start calling him dad so that their little sister would call him dad. And I supported. I didn't support it. I hated it.
Right.
It ground on my nerves. Even at that point, I knew that when Des was 4 and she asked if she could call him dad and he said no, I should have left. I should
Right.
have, because they didn't have a dad and he was their dad and he acted like their dad and yet
But he didn't want to be their
didn't
dad.
want to be their dad. Right. So I compliance for things and then to as they are teenagers expect them to change that at 12 and 13 14 years old because now there's a little sister is and for me to support that was I mean it's not like they ever got in trouble if they didn't call him dad. They asked me if they had to and I said you don't have to but we would appreciate it.
Hmm.
When in reality, what I should have said is, hell no, that's ridiculous. How dare he do that? Right. Like,
Or that's up to you what you call him.
well, not, right. In reality, it went against everything inside of me.
Yeah.
My stepdad is still my dad. Hell, my son is named after my stepdad. That
Right.
doesn't take anything away from my biological dad. I adore
Mm-mm.
him as well. And I know what I believe a stepdad should be to a child.
Right.
And he wasn't it. And not only was he wasn't it, but he was in my face, blatant and and vocal about not being it. And instead of holding to my truth, I fell into compliance, lack of awareness, refused to have a relationship with myself, to engage with myself, to even say, I don't support this. I simply didn't want to be abandoned, was in those survival characteristics, didn't want to be rejected, didn't want him to be angry. And so I was compliant and I just gave in to what he wanted without any thought of the consequences.
And you know what? Compliancy breeds resentment.
Mm-hmm.
It
Hmm.
breeds it.
Yes, it
You
does.
want to put some friggin' resentment into your relationship? Just become compliant. Like,
Yeah. I think it's interesting, actually, as you were talking, you were saying, I did these things and I wasn't aware, or until I was aware. But that kind of contradicts the things we were saying. But I also know what you mean. So let me go with this for a second. Um, it contradicts what you were saying about, right? We knew what they were doing was wrong. We knew what they were doing, we didn't agree with.
It's
We
so hard to
knew
explain, isn't
it is.
it?
And there's, right, I should have spoken up, right? So to say I wasn't aware is not a true statement. But I think where the I wasn't aware was that it was okay for me to take space.
Right. I was, so it was a combination, right? One is I was in denial. So while I was aware that something felt wrong with this, I was in denial about how inauthentic I was being. I was unable to face that I wasn't standing in my own truth. And I was afraid to take the space to stand in my own truth because what would happen if I did?
Hmm.
So, with the combination of those two, creates this it's like an awareness, it's like an intentional lack of awareness. It's like a subconsciously intentional lack of awareness. So like I know this is wrong and it feels wrong, but I can't face that. So there's this wall where I just can't face it. So I'm not going to acknowledge it. But it's completely subconscious.
Yeah, the part of the, and again, it's like for me it was a subconscious thing, but it wasn't completely self-conscious because again, I knew, but I chose in that moment, every one of those moments, what was the easier route? Well, to sacrifice myself has always been the easiest route.
What I didn't know is that I wasn't just sacrificing myself, I was sacrificing my kids.
Yeah.
And with that, in that moment, I like how you said that because in that moment, I'm just going to sacrifice this little piece.
Yes.
And then I'll sacrifice this little piece and this little piece and this little piece and this little piece and this little piece until there are no more little pieces left to sacrifice. And what's left? Nothing. I don't have
Yeah.
anything left to give. I am empty. I have nothing left inside of me. I don't know what is best for me. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I feel. I don't know what I think because I have sacrificed this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. And eventually I come to awareness that I have nothing left to give. And that's where that resentment falls in.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you realize how many times you've abandoned
Right.
your
Myself.
thought, and that's compliancy is just, I think, the utter abandonment. Excuse me, the utter abandonment of oneself,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and you think
your
about, again,
needs, your
going,
thoughts, your values, your morals, everything.
yep. And think about going back to the characteristics and the order, right? It's, it's the first one that really shows the lack of actions I'm taking in my life.
Yeah.
It enhances the behaviors, that's for sure. It really does. It enhances the behaviors of, well, abandonment.
When I
So,
start
But you
looking at
see,
where I'm compliant, I start realizing, I start seeing like the ignorance starts to go away, right? So I have this saying, ignorance is bliss. When I'm in denial, when I'm in low self esteem, when I'm in my compliance behaviors, I don't realize I'm ignorant to the fact that I am abandoning myself. I might be aware subconsciously or internally, there might be this thing, but outwardly, I don't realize it. And so once I come out of compliance and I see where I have given all these little pieces of myself, now I'm no longer oblivious to it. I'm no longer ignorant to it. I have the knowledge of it and I have to face it. And this is like, Dawn, that I think that's what you were just saying is this is that first characteristic, that first awareness that you come to where it's like, holy crap, look what I have done to
hmm,
myself.
yep, yep. So
mhm.
when we, right, we didn't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm going to be compliant today. I'm just going to become compliant in my life, right? As, oh, everything it comes, right, it stems from somewhere. But what did, what did we experience? What brought compliance to fruition in our lives that our parents, adults in our lives do that made us just kind of go to this place?
Well, I think as young kids, our parents um made really unhealthy choices and we had to go along with it even if we disagreed with it. We didn't have a voice. Like I come from an alcoholic family. There is so much that went against my values and what I we would go to Sunday school and be taught all this stuff as a child and then go home and we weren't living it.
Right,
It was such it was such a disconnect that just learning to go along, because like that was my security, that was my roof over my head. Those were the people that fed me. My real mom wasn't in the picture, so I had to go along with what these people wanted, right? Or like what was going to happen to me. I was really at one point I was going to be going into foster homes, right? So I felt like I really had to go along with whatever program I was in. Even if I
mm,
didn't agree with it, I just went along with it for my own safety as a kid, just to feel safe.
right,
For
right.
me, it was compliance or abuse, right? Like I, my very first memory, I couldn't have been maybe 2 years old. I can see myself in this little white dress, and I'm standing in front of a set of stairs. And for whatever reason, I am scared to go up those stairs. And I can see my mother at the top of those stairs, and I see the anger. I don't remember the words, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I see the anger, and I remember the feeling of get your ass in that house right now, or you're going to be fucking hurting. And then as I remember my life as I get older and I think back, I had to be compliant at school. Do as you're told, write with your right hand, don't write with your left hand, or else the teacher will come by and hit you with a ruler, right? I went to Catholic school. They were still physical when I was in school in Catholic schools. You would get sent to the principal's office and you would get whipped with something. Typically, it was a ruler. Um, so it was very much when I think about a young child, it was be compliant or you will get physical pain. When I think about an older child, a teenager, the result of non-compliance was homelessness. The result of non-compliance was not knowing what I was going to eat for dinner. Um, it was be compliant or live on the streets. So, right, I got compliant with a cousin. Ended up cleaning his house and marrying his roommate because compliance was what was needed. That wasn't the reason I got married to my ex husband, but it was a huge part of it, right? Um, and even I think about as a work, a single adult over the last 10 years, even compliance has been bred into me in every different aspect of my life. And typically it has been associated with fear. If you are not compliant, then as a child, physical pain, as an adult, a teenager, homelessness and not being able to support myself, as an adult, abandonment and not being able to support myself, even at work, right? If you're not compliant, you're going to get fired and then you can't pay your bills and feed your kids. It has
Mhm.
always been up until now. I want to preface that, but not preface, but follow that up by saying up until now, it has always been in my mind, if I am not compliant, then this bad negative thing. I haven't seen other options. I was never taught that there was a way to not be compliant and not end up in a negative situation.
So it's fear-based, 100% fear-based.
Yeah, I don't think of a
So
time where
my
I've been
story is a
compliant
little
and it wasn't
different.
fear based.
Yeah, I can't think of when compli I've been in compliancy and it's not fear-based. Sorry, Don,
Sorry,
what were you going
Don.
to say? Yeah, go
No, you're
ahead.
you're good. That's all right. So for me, a little different. Yes, fear was, home was abusive, but it wasn't a to me. Anyways, but I remember, and I've heard this from so many adults, right? Was kids were meant to be seen and not heard. Um, I remember being, like patience is a virtue, not seen and dawn. Like that, I heard that all the time. Um, there was one other and I lost it, but if I remember, I'll tell you later. So very, very early on, I learned to not speak up for myself because I wasn't patient enough or I wasn't what I was, right. I'm a child, so of course I can't have an opinion on something. I was meant to be and was raised to be small. That is what my that's where the focus was for me as a child. For people like my that's kids were supposed to be small. And making a child or right small sticks with you through adulthood to stay small instead of allowing me to have this to take up space to be able to have a voice, right? I didn't have a voice. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. Um, and when you can't have a voice, which means you can't have an opinion, which means now I can't figure out what's good for me or not good for me because it doesn't matter. Those choices are taken from you as a child. There is no way in the world that I can trust anything that is presented to me. And so that's where it was. I never learned trust, self-trust, that I knew what was best for me. I knew that I could express something and it be appreciated or right, I was dictated to. My dad, my dad's name was Richard. We called him, everybody called him Dick, and it was literally, he was a dictator. Um, and it was this way. My mom lived in her codependency, right? She taught me to not speak up for yourself. It's right to, and if you did speak up for yourself, you had to be a fucking bitch when you did it, right? You had to do it in that shitty ass tone with the meanness and the hatred and the all the blah behind it instead of, well, I can appreciate your opinion, but this is my opinion and it's right too. Right. And I think for me, there's something about with children, because again, kids are blank slates when they come out, right? You've got this blank slate. And then as adults, we get involved and, well, we end up fucking it up.
I kind of feel sick about the amount of compliancy I put upon my own child.
I was
I
just getting ready
know.
to say
Oh,
that. Like, if we think
I think
about,
about it right now
but
and
a
I just
total
want to
lack of
barf.
awareness. It was
I
just, we
know.
didn't
Total.
know what we were doing.
I
Like,
know.
if that is one thing I can take away from this, I apologize greatly to my oldest two children, and I
I
hope that they can
apologize.
see that I have made the change with my youngest child. I stole their voices.
So
Yep.
did I.
I taught my daughter and my son that to have a voice equals fights, it
Yep.
equals commands, it equals discipline, it equals unhappy situation. And at the same time, I taught them to follow their hearts.
Yeah.
Boy, talk about fucking confusing. Follow
Right.
your
Yeah.
heart, do what you need, follow what feels right to you, but don't you dare stand up against me. Don't you slam your door. Don't you roll your eyes. Don't you get an attitude. Who the hell do you think you're talking to that way? And follow your heart. Know what you want, know what you believe, but don't share it.
Right.
Right? Like that. If I think about when Destiny and Jeb were 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 years old, what did I teach them? I taught them to be quiet. I taught them to know what they think and know what they feel, but don't put it out there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hope, like hell, that they can see that I have learned a great deal from them and from our lives. And with my youngest child, I am teaching Cameron to use her voice and to be proud of her voice and to stand in her space and to own
Hmm.
her space. I hope that makes up for it in some way.
Yeah.
And I think, right, the idea of reparenting, and I really love that concept. And especially, I love the fact that I get to reparent, I can reparent Dylan, right? Because all that means is I get to do things different. In a grand scheme, that's all reparenting is. I get to do something different with my son,
And show them
um,
different.
and show them different. And, one of the things I've, he's still he's in that point. He's really out there in the life and in the world for his like kind of first time, and he'll be like, he called me the other day. So, do you think I should switch my car insurance? And he was looking for me to give him an answer. And I was like, I think the difference now is I would have like whether before I would have been like, well, no, why would you do that? Or yes, if you can do this, right? I would have been very decisive in my answer. And the difference I found was, well, have you called? Did you check with any other insurance companies? Did you make, like, right, instead of just telling him what to do, asking questions to let him get to this place that he can get to on his own. So he asked me a few questions. Of course, he called me with numbers and he this, and I was like, I'm like, well, you know, look, telling him, open up your other policy, open up the policy you've got the quote on. Are they the same? Giving him life information of how to approach something like this.
Instead
And
of just
then,
giving the answer.
yes, and then I got the fuck out of the way, and I was like, okay, you decide now. You've got the numbers, you've got the things. Just remember whatever decision you make, right? Some companies, giving him information, some companies are going to get you in at a lower rate, and then in 6 months, they're going to jack you like up. And so you're paying the same. Just be mindful of that. But go in and gather all the information and make the best decision for you. And I love, and that's a really simple like way that I've been able to do things differently him with him. He'll ask me a question. What do you think? What do you think you should do? What works for you? Just not that, and it's not a case of I'm not there for my child. I am 150% there for my child,
I am simply not forcing my opinion on my
on my
child.
child.
I love that you say that like that, Don, because I've started that has when I talk to Destiny and Jeb and I have conversations with them, I have started intentionally reminding myself in my head
Yes,
they don't want my opinion. They want life advice, like
correct.
I like how you said, like, okay, did you call and get quotes? And did you compare those quotes and that policy to your policy? And are you sure they're not going to change? Like, did you do your research? And here is the research you can do. And
Yep,
then what is your decision? I love
exactly.
that. I
I could
like
have
that.
been on Googling and I could have went on this, I could have done this, right? But what the one thing no one taught me, right? Because everybody swooped in and would just fix it.
You gave him his power back.
Yes. And I think about that and and I just go, I have to honestly, I don't talk about this man near enough, but I need to. I'm gonna do this without crying because this man, when my mom met my stepdad, when she met Ross, that man showed me life. That man taught me. That man asked the questions. That man, the little bit of compliant, lack of I'm just gonna, let's go there. That little bit of autonomy that I got as an adult, as a late teen, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old was because of that man, right? That it was okay to have choices, have beliefs, have whatever I wanted without being shamed for it. Sad part is, right, he came into my life at 11, 12 years old. And 11, 12 years old, a lot of that impressionable life was done with two people that were so extremely unhealthy that he couldn't make up for it completely. But I do believe without him, I question, and my stepmom too, right? My dad's second wife, like without them, they taught me to be Dawn, that it was okay to be Dawn. But I didn't have the communication skills because I was never taught them young of how I approached that. So I use the word autonomy, right? So what is the opposite of compliance?
That would be
According to
autonomy.
according to us, it's autonomy, which is a self-directed freedom to act independently and make your own decisions without being controlled or unduly influenced by others.
Even as you say it, like a weight just got lifted off my
I
shoulders.
know.
Like,
It's kind of crazy how that
I
happens.
love autonomy. I do. I think it's like become one of my click words. I use it a lot. Like
And I
it's
feel
important to
like
have
that's
autonomy.
it's what is autonomy? It's having my voice. It's taking up my
Hmm.
space. It's
It's
making my own decisions and supporting myself emotionally and internally and being true and authentic in who I am and what I want and what I believe.
yeah, and just being comfortable in your own skin,
So
you
I'm
know?
gonna tell them a little bit of the story behind this word, okay?
Yes,
We
I was thinking that too.
we struggled, guys. We struggled with this word. We really put a lot of effort into what is the survival characteristics and what is the opposite? What is, the opposite of what that survival characteristic? We were able to throw them out on everyone but this one. It took us two meetings. I know I personally thought about it a lot outside of us having
Yes.
in our business meeting. I did a lot of research. I'm sure you guys did as well, trying to find this right word. And we record all of our business meetings, so we do get a transcript. And I went back and it was like we just could not get off this word. It was just this word that we were drawn to. Be-
It's the only thing that really stands in as the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, you could throw out what? Surrender. You could throw out what are some of the other ones that we threw out?
Acceptance,
Right.
authenticity. There was a bunch of them,
There
but
Wait,
was.
was it embracement?
yeah,
Yeah,
engaging and
embrace. Yeah.
embracing.
Engaging, embracing. Oh wait, where's that? Maybe that was another one. I don't
No,
Nope,
that
know.
that
was
was
this
this
one.
We're
one.
That
This
getting
was
them
this
all
we
one.
mixed
talked
up.
about it
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
and no matter what we did, it just didn't cover it quite
Yeah.
enough. But
Yeah.
autonomy is really like read that definition for me again, Don. Do you still have that up?
I do. A self-directed freedom to act independently and make my own decisions without being controlled or unduly influenced by others.
That is huge. That is the exact opposite of compliance,
Hmm.
right? Compliance is to not take up my space, to give in to what
Yep.
everybody else wants or what somebody else is telling me. I need to be compliant to what other people want. But autonomy means I'm standing in my power, what is right for me without the unneeded and unnecessary influence of other people. That is so important. And it's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do, right? I mean, if you think about it, If we're having a conversation about if my child should be able to dress a certain way, and my thought is they should have their own decision, and the
Hmm.
child's father or other parents' thought is they need to dress modestly. That is a difficult fight to try to
Hmm.
have, a difficult conversation to try to come to this. They're two complete opposites, and these are about our children, and we are parents, and we need to come to an agreement. And for me to be able to use my voice and stand in my autonomy, and the father to stand in their autonomy, but then we also have to give the kid their autonomy. Like, it is
Yeah.
difficult to live in autonomy.
I think when I heard hearing you talk about that, what popped in my head was I think about here's you've got two parents, one believes this, one believes this, but you have two unhealthy people because that's really what it came down to, two unhealthy people that now we're supposed to come together and figure out what is the best for our child, but I we don't know how to communicate because right, of course I picked someone that right needed me and depended on me and were like right was unhealthy in themselves, so they didn't know how to have a healthy conversation. I sure the fuck didn't know how to help have a healthy conversation, and I didn't have these conversations prior to because if I right prior to having children because right I didn't ask questions before I was with these people
Well, and I
because
avoided conflict.
right and
And
I
if they
just right
disagreed
I gotta
with me,
comply.
then right. If they disagreed with me, then maybe we would have to have a different conversation. And I don't want to have that conversation. So let me not have this
Right.
one and we'll just work it out. I got to be
Yeah,
compliant.
and it's so crazy to think like right talking about Mark, my ex-husband, right, like to going from a date that I didn't even like him and I didn't even want to 20 50, 20 years later we're married and getting divorced, but thought we talked about everything that we should have because we were together, we were together 5 years before Colin came along. You would have thought we would have had all the conversations and all the what does it look like to be a parent, especially Dylan was already around and he was, and I realized that I didn't. We just didn't because it was never these just to open up a conversation about a hard conversation, something that we could disagree on, or maybe to understand where he stands. It was just easier for me not to do that. I would
Yeah.
try, right? They get mad, right? Why are you asking that for? And the
Or they
tone,
disagree.
yep. And then I just shut down.
Yep. It was the same. Like Brian and I, my ex-husband, we never had a we were together a year before I was pregnant. Right. We never
Yeah.
had any adult conversation. I was 17. I wanted a family. So I had a baby.
Yeah.
Right. When, and then with Nick, we were together 7 years before Cameron came along. I already had Destiny and Jeb. He
Right.
already knew the kind of parent I was. I already knew the kind of parent he was. And we already knew we disagreed.
Yeah.
So we did not, there was no conversation about how are we going to parent this child. It was a moment by moment parenting with a total lack of awareness. It was chaos, really.
Yeah. And even taking it out of parenting, right? From a perspective of politics or religion, for example, or just underlying beliefs. I, right, I don't ever remember having a conversation with Mark about politics, and we are very different in political stance. Um,
Yeah.
right? And don't talk politics, don't talk religion. And here's someone I'm supposed to be spending my life with, right? Shouldn't I align in some basic things or have a mutual respect and appreciation for the other person's beliefs if I choose? But or from a religious stance,
It was
he was very religious. I wasn't, right? So, but it's okay. I can go to church, even though I go to church and the only thing I want to listen is the music, right? But all the other crap is bullshit. No, no, no offense to anyone out there. I'm not saying that, just right. For me, um, or from a basic of what am I okay with my children? What if they come to me and say, and they mom, I consider my, or, mom, dad, right? I'm struggling in my body. I wanna transition here. Right? I like, in my case, like mom, I love boys. I want to be with men. I want to, right? Um, all these, like, I want to become, I don't know, like some sort of religion, right? Right? Like, oh, it never having these conversation of how will we approach this if this becomes a thing, how just these conversations that are so important in in my life, to be able to find a like-minded person.
But we have to be able to step into that autonomy,
Well,
step
you have to know
Yes.
out
your
of the compliance. You have, like, it, yes, we all know. I don't know if we all know, but I know for myself, my culture, my society, the way I was raised, I constantly heard all the time on from TV, from songs, from books, have these conversations, know who you're having kids with. But
Yeah.
the reality was, like, I was so compliant that his religion and my religion were exact opposites. And he
Mm,
actually disrespected my spiritual beliefs. He was actually against my spiritual beliefs and used to make jokes and say things. And I was so compliant that I stopped practicing.
right. Mel, you were going to say something, and I would love, you were talking about just not knowing like it came down to not knowing yourself.
yeah. So like if you don't, I did not know my values. I did not know my needs. I did not know what made me tick. I would just conform again to whatever environment I was in and adapt.
Hmm.
Um, and it's hard to not be compliant if you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that is one of the most important things for growth is you got to know who you are and what you
Hmm.
like and you've got to be comfortable in who you are because you
Yeah.
can't like when it comes to religion that is a belief system
Right.
and I think you have to know your belief systems and are they yours or are they someone else's?
Right. Were they my parents, from a childhood? Were they my grandparents because they were a safe place and happy and warm and loving, and so I saw that as good, or whatever it was. Um, and one of the things for me, so I've dated on and off in the last, I don't know, 4 years, but I've really, I haven't. It's been one date or one guy. But anyways, one date, and it didn't go. But anyways, what I'm saying is this. I think one of the best things that I've done for me is to take this extended amount of time to be able to figure out who I am, because I've never done that. I've never taken the time to figure out what my likes and what my dislikes are. Right? I would get in my feeling lonely phase and I would just, well, let me go on a dating app. Let me go whatever it is, right? And I sat in that uncomfortability of being unsure, and I started figuring out where my beliefs and values aligned, right? Doing research, reading, right? Putting myself in different groups and seeing where I fit. And once I could find, like, I became more vocal about my beliefs and the space that I need and want in a relationship. And I'm not talking just romantic relationships, right? I'm talking also friends. I have through that, right? I have now found like-minded people. I also have a different appreciation for people where I was with someone yesterday hanging out who has a very different political stance from myself. And I know that, but it doesn't make or break the relationship, right? There becomes an appreciation for this is my belief, this is your belief, and we can have this on common ground, be in common ground, and either choose consciously not to have that conversation, or we have that conversation and we openly listen. And I think but that came from my confidence and me knowing that this aligns for me. And that can go across to anything. It doesn't, right? It's whether it's a parenting style, whether it's activities. Um, One of the things Mark actually has complained to Colin about is my activities nowadays, right? I love to kayak. I really enjoy camping. I'm more outdoorsy now. And he complains to Colin all the time. Well, I wish our marriage, he would say, our marriage would have been much better if your mom would have done the things I wouldn't wanted to do. She loves them now, but well, I don't know why she couldn't have done them back when we were married. Like she does them now, but she doesn't never didn't wanted to do them with me. And I didn't know I liked them then, right? I found people I enjoyed activities with because I enjoyed the people I was doing the activities with, right? There's the difference. Anything with Mark was work and ugly and so much.
Like,
Shit, I
why
could
would I
barely
want to go kayaking when every single
Just
comment's going to be something about how I'm not doing it right? No, I don't want to go kayaking.
right?
But when I'm
Like
laughing the whole time and people are helping and it's offered and it's
and
fun and it's
supportive
peaceful and oh my God, look how much I love it. Yes.
but that's because I may have now made a conscious decision of the people I put in my life. Right? We might have different beliefs on whatever it may be, and you can still be in my life. Now, you might not be the person I come to when I'm struggling and I need to talk about something, but that doesn't mean the person that I would go to for that belief would be the person I'd go to for something else, right? I've learned that, you know what? I can have multiple people in my life. They can all exist equally, and maybe I go to one for one thing and I go to one something else for someone else. When it comes to recovery, my girlfriends know that I'm in recovery. They know. Do they know the extent of it? No, because that's not where I go to discuss recovery, discuss my growth and awareness, to discuss my struggles and things like that. That's not because that's not that's not their platform, right? But I have people in my life that I can do that with, right? I have a platform that I can do that with, whether it's in our Thursday night meeting, which is 7 p.m. to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can find it on the workatyourworthit.com website. Um, or I can do it through the podcast, or I can do that through um, accountability partners, individuals that I met along the way, and then I can have I don't, right? We don't talk politics. Like we're not talking politics and religion here. This is not the platform. That's not what the value in my life that you add. That's not that value I add in your lives. And I think there's where something for me, that autonomy came into play, was this realization that I can have many, many people in my life for many different reasons.
Right. I can get
It
the
doesn't
right
have to
thing
be,
from the right person.
yes,
And
and
that
one
is
person can't do it all.
and
relationship autonomy, I would call that.
Yeah.
um another thing too though, like as I hear you, Dawn, you've also have built boundaries with these people. Like they're not
Autonomy
po
does that too.
yeah, like they're
Yes, it
not
does.
poor because when you're compliant, you can poke holes in all and everything in yourself.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's just full of holes. That's why nothing sticks. That's why one would bend so easily, right? And become
Hmm.
compliant because there's nothing holding the belief together. It's just porous.
Yeah.
But boundary setting with your and and Ash, I always when I hear someone say like I hear a lot of people, oh, I've set this boundary and Ash, you do it so great. That's not a boundary, that's a rule.
Yep. Rules for
And it's
Yes.
other are for other people. Boundaries are
boundaries
for
are for
me.
yourself. And I think the understanding what a true boundary is, um,
Hugely
will make you
important.
less compliant because I'm like you can set a bunch of rules about yourself and they'll break, but a boundary is different.
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a quick second. I know we're going into
Yep.
it here, but like, so a rule is you're not allowed to talk to me that way. I don't accept you speaking to me that way. You are not allowed to speak to me that way. You are not allowed to speak like that in my presence, my house, whatever. Don't talk like that. That's a rule. Can I really stop somebody from speaking how they want to speak? I can't close their mouth. I can't change their voice box. I can't stop somebody else from speaking how they want to speak. A rule is I am asking, requesting, demanding you do this, and I expect you to follow it. A boundary is I don't like speaking being spoken to that way. So if someone speaks that way in my presence, I am going to leave the room. I am going to leave the location. I am going to leave the place. A boundary is if I do not like this thing, this situation, this whatever, then I am going to do this. It has nothing to do with the other person at all. It is 100% about me, what I am okay with, and what I am accepting. And if something happens that I'm not okay or accepting with, what am I going to do about it?
That would be a great, let's put that on the list of, for a good podcast topic of talking about boundaries and what that looks like, how you develop them, find them,
For
create
sure.
them, and maintain them, and all of that. Um, so let's keep moving on compliance here because yeah, you're right. It's been a minute. So once I find autonomy in my life, how does my life change? What changes?
Freedom, right? Like once I realize what I want, what I believe, what I am okay with, and I am willing to take the space that is required in order to have those things, I get this sense of freedom. It's not about what anybody else wants. It's not about making anybody else happy. It's not about pleasing anybody else. It is Ashley giving herself exactly what she needs, what she wants, what she believes and following through with that. It's standing in my power. It's
Living in
yeah.
living in self-respect.
Yeah.
Living
Self-worth,
Self-love.
self-love. Yeah.
self-love,
Yeah.
knowing yourself, knowing what you feel, knowing your feelings.
It brings
That's
peace.
huge.
Yeah, it brings confidence and peace
Yeah.
because if I know that I believe that my child can dress how she wants and she can do her hair how she wants and it will be okay. And I stand in that. I may have a confrontational conversation. However, if I maintain my boundaries, who cares about a confrontational conversation? That conversation ends. And here, I didn't abandon myself. I stood up for myself. I stood up for my child. Right? Like, it's just this peace, this awareness of doing the quote unquote right thing. It just sits so heavy internally on pride of how I behaved within myself.
Yeah.
And you're not giving yourself away. Like you're standing in your you're not giving, you're not abandoning yourself,
Yeah.
which or abandoning your beliefs or turning a blind eye to something that's really harmful. I just yeah. Yeah,
Um,
autonomy is really important.
yeah. So when I started work at Worth It and I created the website, one of the questions I put on there was, and because I found that people I was working with struggled to know who they answer the question, who am I? So I answered the question myself. And Ash, do you remember having to do that?
I do remember having to do that. I struggled with that one.
Yeah, Mel did
I,
too.
it was at the very beginning of my, so we started the website. I think I was only a year and a half into recovery when we started it.
Hmm.
And I really struggled with that. I would, and actually I haven't gone back and read it. It's interesting to think about because we've had that up for about 3 years now.
It
It
is.
probably evolved.
I'm gonna have to do that. It's interesting to think about that. I'm gonna have to go back and read that and see what's different and what's not.
It's funny because like mine was only put up maybe in the beginning of June, and
Yeah.
already I want to change what I wrote on Who Am I? I'm different like 4 months later.
One of the things that when I did this, and what, for me, what generated this idea was I had listened to a podcast or listened to someone speak about the fact that would put myself in a box. Who am I? I'm going to put myself in this box. And there was this idea of there being this fluid sense of self, right? Who I am today is who I might not be tomorrow. Who I am today might not be who I was yesterday or an hour ago, right? There is this fluidity about the fact that I can change and evolve because, right, who I am is mine. And I read mine frequently because, right, I'm on the website a lot, right, tweaking it and doing little things in there. And so I read mine a lot. And do you know I have not changed a word of it? Who I am is that person that wrote that now for me 4 years ago,
That's
5 years.
amazing that you can say
Dawn,
that.
I just went through and read mine. I'm almost in tears because I wouldn't change a thing.
Really?
Right?
I
I think I
can't
do.
believe I wrote that.
I love reading mine. Love it.
I love that. Wow, I can't believe I'm gonna need wow, I can't believe I'm so emotional about it. That was I can't believe I wrote that.
Hmm. And you, I will tell you, I don't know if you remember this, right? When I asked you to do this, right? When I decided I wanted, like, I'm gonna bring you on. I want you to do this with me. Let's do this. And I had you do this. I remember you sent me something. I maybe probably even have it somewhere. And I was like, no, Ash, that's not who you are. That's not. It was very
It
vague
was
and
like
it
I'm
was
a wife
very,
and I'm a mother and I'm a teacher and
it
I'm a
wasn't
dog trainer and
like it wasn't deep. It wasn't like it
yes.
wasn't. There was just it was a more
I didn't know who I
superficial,
was. Yeah, it
right?
was very surface. It wasn't deep. I remember now I until I just read this and even after reading it, I don't remember writing it.
Yeah.
But I remember really struggling with
We
really
talked about
wanting
it
to
a
be
lot.
vulnerable and let people truly know who am I.
Yep.
And one of the biggest things is who am I is ever changing, right? Who I
Right.
am is this person who is growing and flowing and changing. And who I am is undecided yet.
You're right.
Actually, I just
I,
read mine. I love it.
Isn't that crazy?
It wasn't what I thought it was. It actually
right.
is very, yeah, it is me.
And it's funny because
And but you
Mel, you
helped me
didn't.
get there. Dawn, you helped me rewrite mine a few
She helped me
times.
too.
Because
Right.
you're like, that's not you. The
That's
first-
right. I mean, the beautiful thing is like that's like right, especially with Ashley. I like right when we had been together, a year and a half at that point, and I knew Ashley, and it's like be vulnerable, find that place. And what I remember about you, Mel, was your picture. You struggled with the picture.
I still don't like the picture I used.
I love the picture
I love your
because,
picture because that's you.
right? My picture is my picture because you know what? Sitting on the beach, that's right. That was my original happy place, my higher power, right? Ash, I feel like your picture is where you figured out you,
Ireland, baby. I'll
right?
never forget that vacation. That was
That
huge.
was a pivotal point, knowing you, knowing people before and after, a pivotal point for you in your recovery, where something in you switched.
It was. And it was such a quiet, pivotal point.
Yes.
But I just found myself. I just came back to myself there.
Yeah. And
I
my picture
yeah.
very much has meaning behind it as well. So,
So is mine. I'm in Europe,
yeah.
and I found myself there.
Yeah.
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 So, here's what I would give you, everyone, listeners, everyone this week. Go on the website, workityouareworthit.com. The who am I are that we are talking about are on the homepage.
Just scroll down.
Yeah. And I would love to see and have you write, who am I? Answer that question. Who am I? And consider it very, very openly. Consider it very vulnerably and honest. And
And
we
I'm
would
going to,
love, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to throw it out there a little bit further. I wasn't sure if you were going to go here or not, but tell us and we could read them on the air and we
That's
could
exactly
discuss
what I,
it.
yep. And then we'd love to hear from you about, and you share these who am I stories. And I'm going to say this. Every one we get, we will read on the air.
And
Every
if
single one of them.
and if you want to come on the air and read your own story and have a
Oh,
conversation with us about it, that would be amazing.
Hmm.
yes. Yep. Um, so thank you for today's conversation. Compliance. I know obviously this was a little bit of a longer podcast than we normally do, but great topic and a lot to um, hash out there. So thank you, listeners. Ashley, Mel, thanks for a great conversation today.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right. Bye.
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 We would like to thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. Visit the Work It website at workityouareworthit.com to submit your questions and topics for future episodes. And remember, work it because you are worth it.